I just really want to make it clear, I am not an accountant. I am not an expert in this. I pulled this information together with the help of my accountant and my basic knowledge, and she's reviewed it, but this is general advice and please see a professional. So one of the main things that I see people getting wrong at the very beginning is the business structure. And what I mean by that is how you will be trading and the kind of legal framework you are setting up. So there's a difference with all of these. And a sole trader is basically you going out and being an employee but separate to the business. That's the easiest way. It's just you, and you are hired by other people to work in their business. So for example, Yenny is a sole trader, so she has an ABN, she invoices me as a sole trader, and that relationship, and there are clear definitions of how that relationship must be set up to abide by the trading rules. But then there's also a partnership. So if there's another person in your business idea, you can create a partnership where you share the responsibility, but unlike a company structure, the losses, profits, etc., are distributed directly to each other. But I must also say that means that if the other partner disappears and you've got losses, you are responsible for those. As a company, this adds a greater veil of protection, essentially. There are more reporting obligations, there are more initial setups costs, but you have a certain varying level of liability that protects you as the director. So it's a little bit easier. And then you've got a trust, and that basically is where another business entity holds that and all the property and assets and the intellectual property and all the rest of it. Again, it's a layer of protection in a way, but there's only one legally responsible for the operation of the business. And all of this stuff can be found on the Australian business website, but I would be talking to an accountant to find out what is best for your situation. And I wanted to talk about that because a lot of people go into partnerships with friends or family members when really they should probably be in a company, and they're just getting the wrong structure, and it can be more expensive to unwind all of that. So basically, if you are starting a business, you need, did someone say something? No, not good. You will need an Australian business number. If you're a company, you'll get issued an Australian company number as well as an ABN and a tax file number. So again, your accountant will talk you through what the process is in getting all of that. But as a sole trader, you'll just have your personal tax file number that's attributed to that.
Am I correct in assuming that we're only allowed 2 businesses with a tax file number, ABN number?
I couldn't answer that.
Not really.
I don't know if that's the case.
I think you can have a few names of the one ABN.
You can have trading names under the one ABN. Yeah. So,
but only a max of 2.
I don't know. I've never heard that.
Yeah, if you're a sole trader, I'm not sure.
So the question for those online is, how many businesses can you have under the sole trader ABN? The answer is, I don't know. I'm definitely not an expert. You think it's one? Yeah, I'm not sure. That would be one that I would definitely be following up on with your accountant. Another one that I see people get wrong is they're not actually checking if their business name is available. So they're going out and getting really excited about these names and going and getting logos made and buying domains, and the business name is not even available. And a big one that people need to check is, which I talk about a little bit later, is trademarks, which I'll come to in a second. So you can check the availability of that name. You can have a company name and your trading name can be different. So that's not a problem, but just think about, I'll give you a few little things to think about when you're thinking of a name a little bit later when we talk about branding. But there's also tax and super obligations. The joy of being self-employed, do you think you can find a chair? The joy of being your own boss is you are also 100% responsible for things like superannuation and paying your own tax. I've been in situations where I'm helping businesses, small businesses who've been going for a couple of years, only to find out they've not been paying their own super or tax, but they also haven't been paying the tax or super of their staff. So that is a big no-no. So be aware of your tax and super obligations, and they will vary according to which structure you have set up. So again, speaking to your accountant and understanding what that is. GST also becomes involved when you start earning over $75,000 a year. So you will need to register for GST, and then again, further reporting obligations with the quarter, putting in your GST statements and paying tax or being, geez Louise, we need some WD-40 in this room. I'll put you on the ground in a minute. Sorry, Yenny's on a creaky chair for those of you who can't listen. I've made you all paranoid about it. Just don't move. Then be aware of licenses and permits, but also insurance. The amount of people I see who do not have the right level of insurance or no insurance. So, you know, if you're a company and you're an employee of the company, you're going to need work cover. If you are going and working out in the public, you'll need public liability. If you're doing something like I'm doing, you'll need public indemnity. So again, speak to your accountant, lawyer, or even speak to an insurance broker. They're actually really good ones to help guide you on that front. And the final point is record keeping. Start really good habits now with your record keeping, because it could make or break you at the end of the financial year. A tip that I would be saying, there's a book called, nope, can't remember it. It will come to me later. But, what is it? I can't even think of the cover, what it looks like. But when I think of it, there is a book I'd recommend reading. But what I'd say is, if you are paying GST, tax, super, get into the habit of putting a little bit aside for profit, putting a little bit of aside for your tax, and your super you have to pay quarterly anyway. You've got an obligation to pay that by a certain period, unless you're a sole trader, but we won't go into that. So just, I would set up your main trading account and then have little offset accounts that you just get into the process. Every time you get an invoice pay, put 2% aside, 10%, whatever it might be, and get in that habit. It will save your butt when you have to pay GST, or if you're doing really well, at the end of the year, your tax